when we think about a mindful or spiritual practice, we think meditating with not thinking about anything for an hour every day is the way to go. Yes, this is a way to go. However, one of the things that I think is important that we forget about is the driplets, the droplets, the microdosing, which I'm not talking about mushrooms or plant medicine. I'm talking about microdosing 30 seconds, even 3 seconds, 3 minutes, multiple times throughout the day increases our awareness. And what I've learned in my own personal life and guiding other people, when we have that consciousness multiple times throughout the day, there's so much more that not only we can benefit from, but from everybody else that we come in contact with and the life around us.
Craft Your Life is a radio show for the tenacious, the bold, and those who refuse to settle for mediocrity. We bring together visionaries, game changers, and relentless go-getters who are crafting their lives, businesses, and relations in pursuit of excellence. If you are ready to shatter limits, embrace the amazing, and live life on your own terms, this show is for you. Each episode delivers actionable insights, inspiring stories, and unfiltered conversations that will ignite your drive to win a life worth dying for. Tune in and get ready to live viciously. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Craft Your Life Radio, the show for the tenacious, the bold, and those who refuse to settle. Today's guest is a walking embodiment of what it means to live fully awake. After a life-altering spiritual awakening in 2015, Tara Skubella didn't just dip her toes into transformation, she dove headfirst into the sacred fire of Tantra, awakening her Shakti and never looking back. She trained with tribal Tantra in Thailand, lived the practice, and became a channel for deep embodied healing. You might recognize her from Naked and Afraid, 21 Days in the Raw Panamanian Jungle. That's a hard word. No clothes, no comforts, no escape, but that's only one layer of her story. Tara's roots run deep in the wilderness, 27 plus years of teaching, guiding, healing, and holding space for transformation in nature, the classroom, and the spiritual realm. She blends earth science with mysticism, trauma-informed care with Tantra, wilderness survival with Kundalini yoga. She's a death doula, a wedding officiant, and now an author too. Tara's mission: to reconnect us with nature, with our bodies, and with each other from a place of truth, intimacy, and radical authenticity. So buckle up. This is not your average self-help talk. This is real. This is Tantra. This is crafting your life. Tara, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt. It feels good to be here. Love the intro. Wow.
It's fun. I don't usually read full intros that come up that I draft, but that just seemed applicable. Tara, tell us, for the listeners, where are you beaming in from right now?
Yes, I'm beaming in from my home in Delta, Colorado, just south of Grand Junction.
Amazing.
Maybe about an hour south. Yeah.
You were telling me before we hit record a little bit about where you've been, and it's been in this area of what I might term the Western Slope and kind of the little pocket of Montrose Delta area. Is this where you grew up?
No, I was born in Michigan and I grew up in the Midwest, but Illinois. So Michigan, Illinois, and I went to college in Missouri. I lived in Florida for a minute before moving to Colorado in 2000. So I've been here since 2000.
Love it. What part of Michigan and Illinois?
Okay, north of Detroit, Rochester, Oxford, Lakeville area.
Yeah.
In Michigan, and in Illinois, south of Chicago, Morton, Bloomington, Normal, Peoria area.
Yeah, beautiful. I was reverse. I started in Chicago and then did a lot of growing up in Traverse City, Michigan, before coming out here in 97. I'm curious. I mean, there's so many curiosities I have from spiritual awakening, Naked and Afraid, and some of these wilderness experiences. But how did you end up from Midwest out in Colorado?
Okay, well, I feel like there's so many transplants in Colorado, right?
There's a lot.
I mean, the Midwest is kind of boring, nothing to see, very little to do unless if you like sports.
Very
Um,
gray.
yeah, very gray, drab. Yeah, sad, seasonal, whatever disorders real, especially for the people in the Midwest. But
Yes.
I think a lot of us, maybe at least my family, we came out here for a vacation one year and I just loved it. And then I traveled out here with the college that I went to, Illinois Central College, before I went to school in Missouri. And I fell in love with Colorado. I'm like, I'm moving here someday. And I did. And that was
Love
that.
it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. So this spiritual awakening in 2015,
Yeah.
what was it?
What was it? Yes. I didn't
And
know
and
what it
and let
was
me
at the time.
yeah, no, I get that. And maybe what I'd be curious about, like, how do you either then or now define spiritual?
Mhm. Yes. So, definition of spiritual to me is intimacy with beyond the body, whatever that looks like. It could be God, it could be nature, it could be a deity, an angel, the unknown.
Hmm.
That connection, and I'll say practice of. And sometimes when I use the word connection, I feel like that word is used so loosely these days. So that word intimate, an intimate relationship with, whether that's through practice, believing, showing up, whatever that means to you, because it's very personal to each of us,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Mhm.
I would agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of relativity to that term spiritual.
Mhm. Yes, a lot of even trust and surrendering too, as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're using words, spiritual intimacy. I mean, there's a lot of it's kind of the same coin, just two sides of it. There's courage and there's vulnerability.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Mhm.
So back in 2015, can you kind of just map
Mhm.
out however detail you want to go into, but what what shifted? What connected the spiritual or opened the awareness for that? And that ultimately, from what I'm gathering, led you down the route of tantra,
Mhm.
tantra.
Mhm. Both. No no right or wrong pronunciation, just depending on where you learned it and where you are in the world.
Yeah, so I would love for you to connect for our listeners, like those two pieces, like how did one lead
Mm.
to another, and then
Mhm.
we can dive into tantra and
Okay.
explain what that is a bit. And
Yes. So, in that time in my life, I'll say 2014, very, very early in 2015, so before February, there was a shift that was happening in my life. I was in a very unhealthy marriage, and I knew that something was missing. I was off track. I just didn't know. I didn't have any spiritual practices. I did grow up Greek Orthodox, so there's that part of my life, in the Greek Orthodox Christianity worlds, but I wasn't practicing at that time, and I was not consciously seeking something, but something was changing. And a casting company reached out to me. They found me writing, an adult ADHD blog, restlessgenes.com, and they said, "Hey, we think you'd be good for this survival television show." And I have a wilderness survival background, wilderness therapy, X, Y, and Z, and that's how they found me. And so I applied. I was cast right away, and, like you mentioned in the intro, I was found myself in the Panamanian jungle on a small island, surviving without any clothes, the camera crew surrounding me. And even though I had under 600 nights underneath the stars, backpacking, guiding, as an outdoor guide, hiking the Colorado Trail, and all of the above. My experience there shifted my energy within my body. It reset me
Hmm.
completely to who I was meant to be on this earth, more of my purpose, which I had moved off that path. Not
Hmm.
completely, but it was a universe,
Yeah. Yeah.
spirit, but whatever word you want to attach to this. And it really shook up my world very incredibly profoundly. Specifically, in the spiritual world, if you're practicing different energies, what I experienced is considered a Kundalini spiritual awakening, which refers to energy centers in our body that were fully open and aligned. I thought I was going crazy at the time. I didn't know what was happening. And I confided in a friend, and she said, "Hey, it might be a spiritual awakening." I'm like, "What's that?" No clue. So, yeah.
So what shifted? I mean, I can relate. I've done some practice of Kundalini, so those aren't completely foreign words to me. I would imagine they might be to some listeners. Um, so can we anchor that a little bit? I mean, did this shift beliefs, paradigms, all the things? What was like maybe not possible before and now possible after?
Okay. Yes. So, possible after. I was drawn to meditation, which I had never done before in my life. I was drawn to exploring different frequencies within my body. This might sound kind of off for maybe some listeners, and I don't know why. I have no explanation. I do have a geology background, and I remember one night I placed crystals on my body according to the chakras. I was like looking it up because I was a blank slate. Okay, a
Mhm.
blank slate, and I remember tuning in and listening to different frequencies that worked the way up with the energy work of the crystals, and I left my body, and there was this huge loud bang and leaving my body, and it was actually very, very scary for me, and luckily, I was able to pull myself back in. I'm like, "I'm not doing that again." A long time, which ended up not being the case, because I didn't have any guides then, anybody to help me. It's, "Oh, this is what this is," and X, Y,
Mm.
and Z. So I was exploring at the time until I found some people to help me, some guides. Um, the other thing that was possible, these doors were opening, and I just felt this yes, yes, yes. Another thing that might sound kind of weird, I had a lot of, I'll use the word download messages from the universe, from spirit, and everything was completely clear. I had no fear. I knew what I needed to do. And there were some unknowns too, but knew that if I said yes to this, yes to that, that everything would be okay, and everything was okay.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Even talking about it now, I'm like, "Oh, this is such a gift."
Yeah, that is a gift. That's amazing.
Hey everybody, this is Luke from Cooler Garage Doors. Just want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Sommer Garage Door Openers. In our opinion, Sommers are the highest quality product on the market today. We recommend them for all of our residential garage door installs because of the variety of features they include, such as Wi-Fi connectivity and safety features such as a fixed chain, which moves along a secure rail to ensure your garage door opens quietly and safely. Click on the link in the description to learn more about Sommer Garage Door Openers.
Do you think that I mean, why? Why you? Why at that time? Because where I'm going with some of that, Tara, is like So I've had some really amazing spiritual experiences. I've seen 3 times my body in pure light, whether that's leaving my body or not. Like I call it like my Christ body. I've just seen I can visualize it now, but I've had very, very um, surreal experiences in that way. And also like in the, how am I trying to explain that, formulate this question? Like in my, there's the internal world, then there's the external world. And my external, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a father, I'm all these labels. And on the internal, like those labels don't matter. And yet I know that the internal work can shift my external world. And there's a level of intention. However, in your story and in some of my experiences, I know that almost intention can be tossed out the window because, the question of like, why you, why then? I mean, there wasn't like, or maybe there was subconsciously a version of Tara like exploring and being like, hey, how do I connect more with spirit? Or like these experiences happen. And it's not necessarily to us, it's for us. Um, but if somebody's listening right now and being like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. How do I do that? Like, there's not really a play by play book.
Yeah. Well, part of my answer, I guess, will surround my Kundalini teacher answer. Um, First, I didn't practice anything. It just came to me. So that's one reason why I consider it an unknown, unexpected gift. I didn't have an intention.
Mm, yeah.
And I don't know why. Me, this lifetime right now, however you want to look at it, I don't know. I don't know. I'm back to who I'm supposed to be, I guess, if that is
Hmm.
even a thing of who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't want to get like all woo woo about it, but and I've had so many spiritual, I'll call them moments in my life since then. However much different than that like 2.5 to 3 week, and then this almost like year and a half afterwards. Um, and moments of those remembering sense. So, and I think it's difficult. One of the things that is difficult and challenging is I know what that felt like for that amount of time and the amazingness around it, and also checking myself and releasing attachment to that.
Mm.
So there was a time where I was like grasping to it, like, oh, I want it to happen again. If I do X, Y, and Z, then maybe it can happen again. But just being at peace with that was meant to be. It may or may not ever happen while I'm walking this earth in this body right now. I don't know. And that's okay.
Hmm.
Um, so and there's people who practice to maybe gain that and have that experience in a lifetime and they never do. And then there's people like me who never asked for it, have no idea, and here it is. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah. Yeah. I find it fascinating. How do you define Tantra?
Tantra, the word itself, and then I'll give you my definition.
Awesome.
Um, when we separate the word tan or tan, you can think tanning a hide, weaving fibers, weaving practices, modalities. Tra for expansion of. So tantra, weaving for expansion of, that's kind of like the book definition or common definition out there with the Sanskrit word, tantra. To me, and it's very personal for everybody, it's more of the energy within and then without. And there's actually 4 pillars that are important to me. That's the energy within, which is also considered white tantra. Um, Energy in exchange, without. And so with Earth Tantra, we also practice energy exchange, building an intimate relationship, not necessarily sexual relationship here, a deep relationship with the earth
Hmm.
and the environment and nature, energy exchange with other people. And so that could be mother to daughter, it could be friend to friend, mentorship. Um, and with energy exchange, there's many different levels of this. You don't even have to be talking, for example. Or it could be a romantic sexual relationship of energetic exchange. And then the energetic exchange of the spirit of the unknown. So, and I don't think there's anybody out there that has these 4 pillars defined. So, I think that's something really unique to Earth Tantra. Yeah.
How does this play out in your day-to-day life?
Yes. Tantra is everything, all inclusive. That's what I love about Tantra. Okay, this question excites me. So maybe I'll answer this in
I
like
see
2 or
that.
3. No, like right. So Tantra is not a place that we go to. Tantra is within us. It's all around us. From our consciousness, our presence, and we can do this many different ways, whether that's a mindful presence, whether it's a way that we breathe, a way of tuning into our physical sensations, becoming intimate with all of life, whether that's taking a hike, cooking our food and eating, the way that we interact with other people, even going to the bathroom, weaving it into our day-to-day life. And when we think about a mindful or spiritual practice, we think meditating with not thinking about anything for an hour every day is the way to go. Yes, this is a way to go. However, one of the things that I think is important that we forget about is the driplets, the droplets, the micro dosing, which I'm not talking about mushrooms or plant medicine. I'm talking about micro dosing 30 seconds, even 3 seconds, 3 minutes, multiple times throughout the day increases our awareness. And what I've learned in my own personal life and guiding other people, when we have that consciousness multiple times throughout the day, there's so much more that not only we can benefit from, but from everybody else that we come in contact with and the life around us. So much more rich, right? We could meditate for an hour and be pissed off for the rest of the day. What good does that do? And I'm not saying it's a negative thing because it's not, right? That time allows us to go deeper into those spaces. And when I say tantra into everyday life, not everybody has and can dedicate that hour of practice. So the dripping of.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What I'm hearing and feeling in that description is what I might call presence, depth, and sacredness. And what I'm finding fascinating, and so this is, a little insight into my personal world. I've been grinding for years on building a company, on building a family, on building wealth, all the wealth, all this external materialistic stuff. And I'm at a very cool pivot point in my life now where while I've known it's the internal game, and therefore I've worked to understand how we craft identities and creative frameworks and, reached into understanding my masculinity and femininity and relationships and all this nuance. right now is about depth. And if I can go deeper and more sacred, then with courage, vulnerability, and faith, I can allow more. I can accept more, which is a wild shift. It's not nuanced at all. I mean, there's zillions of nuances in it. But what I'm hearing in this is really an exploration, a curiosity of life, and taking everything from bathroom breaks, from relating with people, from walking across the yard to throw the trash out as sacred moments, which they truly are. I mean, how special is it to be able to open up eyeballs and breathe?
Mhm. Let's just breathe into that for a moment. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's pretty
Mm,
fascinating. And,
mm,
as the world turns, I know that there's listeners out there that doom scroll, that check the news. I mean, I do some of that. And there's so much noise. And then our amygdalas and our brain, chemical cocktails get into the mix, and we get addicted to dopamine or fear. I mean, there's so much noise, and what I'm gleaning from your presence and in this practice is that we can do a lot more simply by being.
simply being, just being.
What might you say
Mm,
to a listener who would resonate with my term of grinding, of like scriving, like
mm, I mean, I've been there. Um, I don't craft my life to be there anymore. But
that's
there
right.
are days, weeks, maybe, perhaps I'll say, where um, that calling comes, especially as a business owner and living on a farm of 8 acres. However, I wouldn't use the term grinding because I find joy in it all. And the term grinding to me personally has a negative kind of, like nails on the wall. Um, so finding the joy and the gratitude in the crafting, the making of, the focusing, the direction, the purpose, the spreadsheets, although I do use them. But yeah, my least favorite part, that might be grinding. They might have a purpose to be organized and to find the
That's funny.
joy in organizing. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I also think those times maybe that we do grind, really, we're so grateful for the times that we're not. And if we can find the joy in more than half, right? Our life, it, to experience bliss 100% of the time, all the time, that's really hard to do, and to have that expectation, unless if we're living in a cave, meditating 100% of the time, renouncing everything else around us, that's possible. But things come up in our life, you know? Tragedy too. We may have to step up and do things that we don't want to support our family or the scary things. So, um, those grinding times help us really appreciate the joy and the gratitude around the not grinding times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would add in there, I mean, I think the perspective is like spirituality, tantra. I mean, it's not about just blissing out, because if we were blissed out the entire time, we wouldn't even know it, right? Like we have no clue. We have to experience the spectrum of life. We have to experience the pain to know joy. We have to experience hate to know love. Like that's just part of duality. And I think that's the energy waves. There's always those cycles in order to know them. What what do you teach people that come to you?
Mm. Mhm. Presence, joy, becoming intimate with all of life. Tantra in its totality. And with that being said, I also believe it's impossible to practice all of Tantra because there are hundreds of practices, modalities within Tantra. So we get to pick and choose the ones that resonate with us at that time, the ones that we want to keep sacred to ourselves, that energy exchange within, the ones that perhaps we want to share with other people or externally. And that can shift and change. So Tantra is very flexible, very fluid. And there's always more to learn. So Tantra grows with us, supports us. You mentioned masculine and feminine energy. So if you think of the banks of the river as being the masculine, holding that solid earth for the feminine energy to flow and to
Mm,
create and move, um, and to learn and shift and change. Those are all the practices within, and the masculine Shiva energy is holding that container within Tantra.
yeah, I love that.
Mhm. So I could get into the specifics and nuances of all the different practices. Maybe I'll mention just a few that are pretty common of why people find Tantra or might be curious about Tantra. Um, Here, especially in the States, a lot of people find Tantra and hoping to enhance their relationship, their lovemaking. I would say 90% of those people then also realize, oh, it's also more about me being
Mm,
able to
mm.
show up in a better way.
Surprise.
Yeah. Um, so and that's how I found Tantra as well early on, in reclaiming my own sexuality and my own divine feminine. Then, oh, there's so much more out there with Tantra. Something I
Yeah.
can be with my whole life and never get tired of.
Hmm.
Um, and some people are more drawn to the meditation, the breath work, is a pretty important practice within Tantra. Discovering yourself around your whole self, the duality of the divine masculine and feminine, and how we navigate that within and without.
Hmm.
Mhm. So
Who, yeah. So I'm going to ask a question that I think I already know the answer for. Who's it for? Probably everybody, but more specifically, who finds you? And and can you give I'm curious if this could like get to the ground. Like who finds you and what is something that you see that opens and available for them after sessions, work, weekends, however it's structured.
yes, so Tantra originates in, I'll focus on two different lineages very specifically right now. Um, Taoist Tantra, Buddhist Tantra. I'm gonna quote Buddha, for this particular quote. Tantra is the middle path, according to Buddha. Tantra is for everybody. You don't have to wear a white turban and be holy to practice Tantra. And to show up as you are in that moment, whether you're down in the dumps, deep at the lowest point in your life, or you're flying high, everything is completely aligned in your life for anywhere in between. Tantra is also for any age. Sometimes we discard children and teens because of the taboo around the world, or around the world word, not around the world, but around the word
Hmm.
itself, thinking it's
Yeah.
just sacred sexuality. I've practiced Tantra with my daughter when she was in her teens, just beautiful. just really beautiful. What was the second part of your question? I was focusing on that moment.
That's beautiful.
Um,
What do you see shift in people that come to you and work with you?
oh yes. Finding that richness of life. Some people come in with maybe more from a healing perspective, finding that there's much more than that. So maybe healing from trauma, um, struggles in life, maybe grief, loss. Um, Sometimes people see the name Earth Tantra and they just love nature and they love being outside, and so enriching their awareness and relationship with Mother Earth. However, when I'll use retreats as an example. So that's a full embodiment, a time that you can really dedicate and explore Tantra versus just an online course. There's a lot of ahs, like, wow, I didn't realize this was possible. I'm not only within myself, but then interacting with other people on a higher conscious level. Sometimes people walk away like, I've like fallen in love with everybody in this group, because we show up more authentically in a created space. And one of the things that's a little bit different about Earth Tantra, is not all, but a lot of our retreats, especially the ones that are aimed for individuals, although sometimes couples attend them as well, is we start retreats with a silent meditation, a true silent meditation where we give up time, eye contact with other people, reading, writing, art, and we learn to drop within. We kinda release those butterflies, the nervousness that we might have coming together in a group, and so at the end of that kinda 22 hours, we show up more authentically, more grounded, more centered, to really stand in our truth and open our hearts to connect then. Mhm.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. Oh, they're just beautiful.
Hmm.
So beautiful. Mm, mhm. Those are retreats.
Yeah, yeah. Where do listeners find out more? How do we track you, learn from you? How do we sign up for retreats?
Yeah. So pretty easy to find. You can either Google Earth Tantra or you can go to earthtantra.com if you just want to add the .com. Uh, super easy. There's also a Earth Tantra YouTube channel. I'm not super consistent, but every like couple, sometimes like a few times in a month, I'll post something, and then sometimes that might be a few months. But there's a lot of free content on the Earth Tantra YouTube channel of practices and more educational things. There's some free workshops for individuals as well as a couples sacred connection workshop. It's all free. There's online courses. Sometimes we have book clubs in the winter. During the summer, I move from online to more in person. I don't like to be online in the summer. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I love
yeah,
it.
and people can come here to Delta. And just to also kind of throw this out, you mentioned death doula. I do volunteer at Roy's First Animal, yeah, um, sanctuary, and with their losing a pet grieving group, and that's usually like every couple of months,
Yeah,
sometimes more
got it.
frequently. So,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a transition for sure.
Mhm.
Beautiful. We'll include your website and some of your social handles in our show notes. So I would encourage folks to reach out and get in touch and learn more. Um, as we prepare to close out this conversation, Tara, I just kind of want to ask you, like, how do you want to close out?
Yeah. Mm. Mm. I'm really feeling have a closing out with trusting yourself and showing up who you are as you are. And you don't have to be perfect. Yeah, living life in your truth, whatever that may be. Mm,
Beautiful. Thank you for showing up.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Know that I am incredibly humbled and honored. I can't believe I'm saying this. We have over 2,400 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and we're just growing. It is amazing. And your likes, your subscribes, and your shares have helped us get here. So let's grow this thing together and just know that you are appreciated.